What is up, people? Welcome back to the channel. I am back for a review of our game, of course, against Luton yesterday. And yeah, I mean, before I get into it, obviously, as you can see, I know I'm laughing, but yeah, absolutely shambolic, it really was. And there will be no holding back in this video. As anyone that knows me, I will not be holding back. I just say it how it is. And yeah, there's some truths and some things I need to get off my chest really today. So, as always, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Only 14 away now from 200 subscribers, so if you could help me get there, that would be amazing. And also comment your thoughts on the game yesterday and what you took away from it. And yeah, but yeah, I mean, obviously, let's get into it. Obviously, first of all, obviously, beautiful tributes for Pele at the start of the game, obviously with both sets of fans, players, coaches, giving one of the greatest footballers of all time a round of applause that he deserves. Obviously, really sad to hear that Pele is no longer with us anymore, but what he did for the game, he's an amazing ambassador for the game, and there'll be no one like him again. You can talk about Messi, you can talk about Ronaldo, but there will be no one. And I mean, no one as iconic and as amazing and what he did for the game as Pele did. So, yeah, rest in peace, Pele. And yeah, like I said, really, really touching tributes for him at the start of the game. So yeah, obviously let's get into the game then. So yeah, I mean, obviously going into the game, I felt not overly confident, but I did feel like we could pick up a result because obviously we had come on the back of two wins, back-to-back wins for us, and confidence and morale was high. And obviously, as we saw, things weren't as maybe as it seemed, if you could say so. Obviously, Luton did get their first chance of the first real chance of the game. Going one-on-one with Nichols, a bit of an angle to it, to be fair, but great save by Nichols, and obviously a big opportunity for Luton early on. But it actually was us that obviously got the first goal. On 25 minutes, again, Dwayne Holmes getting in the act with the goals. His second goal in a row now. There was a bit of misfortune about it, but Holmes was ready to, because obviously Radoni cut in, and obviously it looked like a shot from Radoni, but it dropped to Holmes, who then obviously struck it into the left-hand corner. But yeah, a great start, 25 minutes on the clock, like I said, and you was thinking to yourself, let's build on this now. Let's try and get because what we tend to do is we tend to get a goal and then we tend to sit back. You've got to keep going. You've got to go. Once you get that first goal, that's when an opposition is most vulnerable. So try and get another one in quick succession. But we didn't. We just seemed to sit on the 1-0. And then, of course, we got punished. We got punished for just, not trying to get that second goal quickly. But yeah, I mean, and then obviously as the game went on, obviously a big blow. Obviously losing Jonathan Hogg in the 38th minute to an injury. Hopefully it's not too serious, because if it is, then there's problems, because as we saw as soon as Hogg went off, we just completely capitulated and completely lost it. And so it's quite obvious that what a big player he is for us and what difference he makes in that middle of the park for us. Because when he's gone, we don't seem to have a clue. Obviously we're losing him, and then obviously I'm going to get into the substitutions in a minute, but so yeah, I'm going to leave that for a minute, but I'm going to just say a very strange substitution. That's what I'll say, and I will get into that in a minute, because like I said, I want to kind of go through the game first. And yeah, I mean, and then obviously we concede the worst possible time just before half-time, 43rd minute. Of course, the technology signaled that the ball did go over the line, and there was a bit of uncertainty whether it had at first, but then obviously Obviously, the watch did buzz. Ironically, the technology was working yesterday, whereas when we needed it, was it last season? It was last season. When we needed it last season, or was it earlier? I can't remember. When we needed it last, it wasn't working. So, how surprised was I? No, I was not. Let's put it that way. And of course, we went in 1-1. Felt quite deflating to be fair, because losing a goal just before half time, losing obviously your captain, in the 38th minute, it just pretty much summed up the ending to that first half, to be honest with you. Obviously into the second half, obviously we had half chances, but we didn't really create much at all. We didn't really test the keeper enough again in that second half. You've got to come out and show that character, bounce back, and we just didn't. Obviously, Hayden had a half chance, but it was straight down the keeper's throat. He was expected to save it. What I will say is, before I talk about their winner, you can see the speed they played at was so evident, and it was so much better than ours. Than us. We're just snail pace at times. If I'm honest with you, with no idea or direction of what we're actually trying to do, or what kind of game plan we've got, or what kind of tactics we're trying to deploy. Because to me, we don't have anything. We don't have any tactics or anything. In terms of when I watch us play, I'm not entirely sure what we're trying to do. And the players don't seem to know what they're doing, because more often than not, it's sideways and backwards. And very, very slow. And not just slow, literally on the spot slow. Which is just absolutely ridiculous. And obviously, for their goal, great move by Luton, obviously great quick passing. We need to learn a few tricks from them about how to pass a ball and how to play at speed. But anyway, Ruffles, has got to be getting closer to me. You cannot let the cross get in from that angle. It was a tight angle, and you cannot afford to be letting him get in. And then when he did get it in, for some reason, Boyle goes to ground, trying to get a connection with it, completely misses it, and then they score. They score, and in the 84th minute, absolutely, really is frustrating enough for me. For me, Boyle's got to stay on his feet. You ain't experienced. You should know better than that. And yeah, absolutely awful. The goals we conceded in this game was terrible. Both goals was from us not picking up our men, not closing down. And it was two simple goals for Luton, and you cannot afford to do that at this level. And, we did it to ourselves there, this loss. We did. It was a real kick in the teeth, it really was, because it wasn't just because we lost, it was the manner of how we lost. And of course, I will get into my overall thoughts in a bit, but let's do the player ratings first. So, obviously Lee Nichols. Yeah, I've got to give him a 7. I think obviously a good low stop to deny Adebayo in the early exchanges, like I said earlier. Commanded his box very well, but that's we've come to expect that now by Nichols. He's a top keeper, as we know, and he'll always make key saves, and he commands the areas so well. And vocal, and he's got it all. Like I say, I've already kind of mentioned that in previous streams about him. But yeah, what you see is what you get with Lee. He's a fantastic keeper, and like I say, one of the best keepers in the Championship for me. Obviously, Tom Lees. Yeah, obviously, he did have a tough job, didn't he? Against obviously the direct running of Carlton Morris, who was an absolute nuisance all afternoon, really, wasn't he? And that's a guy that is a proper striker, proper centre forward striker. That will not take. Okay, you've got to have that aura about you. You've got to have that. He just reminded me of a centre forward that we need in that team right now, and we just don't. But yeah, Obviously, he held his own though, Leeds, to be honest with you, against a tricky opponent. So for me, 7 for Leeds. Hellick, yeah, I mean, again, made some brave blocks in there. And obviously, he was the one that tried to stop the Luton equaliser before obviously the goal line technology said that it crossed the line. Will Boyle, who I'm going to get into in a minute, but I'm just absolutely sick to the back teeth for this. Boyle was absolutely awful. He, obviously, the fact that he came down his side for Adebayo when Adebayo got in, and he's just far too slow for this. I'm sorry, but in League Two you might be able to get away with it, but not in the Championship, and he's just too slow. There's just he just gets beat far too easily. So he did make a few good blocks. Alan Campbell, obviously getting an easy chance, but he did block it. But again, he was wrong-footed by the cross for Reece Burke's late goal as well. So, but for me, I just want to add a few more bits onto that. Is, a lot of the time when he does play a foul, he loses it, which, to me, that's just a complete and utter liability. He's far too much sideways and backwards, which I probably understand, because that's the only, the only time you can actually complete a pass, it seems, for the majority of it anyway. And like I said, how many times did you see in that game where it was literally stood still, not knowing what to do with the ball, but it was that slow. It was literally stood still. And yeah, I'm sorry, but the sooner we get Pearson back, the better, because I'm sorry, but Boyle has to come straight out for me, because he's just not good enough. He's just not good. He's just not good enough. And we just can't be having someone like that in our defence, unfortunately. As harsh as it is, I just speak the truth, and that is how it is. He's just not cut out for this level. So for me, I'm giving Boyle a 4. I think he was, like I say, it was awful. Obviously, Kane, Kessler, Hayden. Obviously, great work to keep the ball in play on the way to Dwayne Holmes' opener, and played a big part in our build-up play. He played a big part for our build-up play in the first half. Obviously, quieter after the break, but so was everybody else. So for me, I have to go with a 6 for me. He looked okay, but like I said, after the break, he didn't do much. But neither did anybody else, so I'm not going to criticise him for that. Hogg, obviously, having to come off in the 38th minute, like I say, was having an absolute fantastic game for me before picking up, it looked like a calf injury, which is obviously very worrying for us. It forced him off before the breaks. And for Hogg to come off as well, by the way, it's serious, because it doesn't take, it takes a lot for him to have to come off, because you know what kind of character he is, and he wants to stay on the field. But for the fact that he had to come off, suggests to me that it might be quite serious. That might, it will be quite serious. But yeah, like I said, we can only hope it's not a bad one. But I don't know. It probably is going to be a bad one, to be honest with you. David Kasumu. Obviously, a very busy performance off the ball in this one, to be honest with you. But he has had better games on it. But again, I do like Kasumu. He's always getting stuck in, always looking to, make things happen as well. Obviously on the ball, trying to look forward. But and like I say, he's always pressuring opponents as well. So for me, a 6 for him. And then obviously, Josh Ruffles. Yeah, I mean, he was beaten by Alfie Doughty for Luton. As Luton blazed up down that wing, of course, on the way to equalising just before the break. Then he was done by James Bree for the second goal. Had some better moments in between, but I'm sorry, but another one that Ruffles, I don't feel is good enough. he isn't good enough, because what I've seen of him, this is the most we've probably seen him at the club, right, in terms of minutes. And I've given him time. I've given him, but for me, he's just not good enough. He gets beat way too easily. You know, players just breeze past him. And it's just no kind of difficulty getting past him. And yeah, he's struggling. And for me, we need to be targeting to, if we are going to actually try and stay up in this division, actually, get some people in, we need to be looking at that side, and we need to be getting someone in, for Ruffles to come out, because unfortunately at the moment, I don't really see anybody else who can come in and do that job. So that's where we're at with our squad at the moment. So yeah, for me, again, a 4, not good enough. I'm sorry, but enough's enough now. We have to start looking at other options, in my opinion, because it's just not good enough. Jack Redoni, of course, so he started just behind John Rose across to the right, but then was forced to move into central midfield after Hogg's departure, which I will get into very shortly, so be ready for that. Very explosive, very honest, very true. I just need to get things off my chest, basically, so stay with me for that. Obviously, Redoni did claim that accidental assist for Holmes' goal, which obviously he had a shot, but it was undershot, and obviously it landed at Holmes' feet, who then striked it home, like I said earlier. Big defensive effort from him as well, to be fair. Always puts in a shift no matter where he's deployed. But again, better further forward than in central midfield, which again is another jibe at the substitutions that were made, which I will get into very shortly, so please stay with me. But for me, Redoni has to get a 7. I think he was brilliant. Holmes, yeah, obviously he got the stadium on side with his determined work to win the ball early on, and then scored for the second game in a row. Brilliant goal as well, by the way, very well taken. And yeah, he is in a really rich vein of form at the moment, isn't he? So fair play to him, and long may it continue. So for me, I have to give him an 8. I think he was brilliant. And the last of the starting 11 before I get into the substitutions, John Rhodes. Yeah, I mean, he didn't really rise to the level of his last 2 outings, but put in a good shift nonetheless, and was everywhere and was never stopped. So for me, a 6 for me for Rhodes. And yeah, it was, he will, I'm sure, get some more goals in the future. There's no doubt about that if he gets chances. So let's go on to the substitutes then. So Sorba Thomas obviously came on. Yeah, Sorba Thomas came on for Hogg. Obviously switched positions with Redoni on the wing. And yeah, he was absolutely shocking. A 4 for me. Didn't influence the game one bit. Gave the ball away too many times. Spent half his time complaining to the referee and officials, which I know the referee and officials were bad, but we've seen that petulance from Sorba all the time, when he's just constantly moaning. It's like a little child. Once you don't get what you want, he starts, instead of getting up and getting on with it, if it's not a free kick, he's just literally complains for ages when he should be getting back in there and getting the ball back. Never mind moaning. And yeah, he's not been the same player for ages now, to be honest with you, and it seems to me like he's become very disinterested at the club, and that's just my honest opinion. That's the way it looks, that's the way his body language suggests, and yeah, it's clear that he wants out. So as soon as Premier League clubs, are mentioned, he's probably gone to his head, but I don't think anybody will be in for him at the moment with how he's performing, so he needs to knuckle down and get going again, because he's been far from good enough. So yeah, another poor outing from Sorba. Danny Ward obviously came on for Rose in the 64th minute. But yeah, again, I don't understand. he's a player that is totally out of form at the moment. Obviously, just come back from injury. But yeah, couldn't get in the game, didn't do anything. Yeah, a 4 for me. Absolutely awful, I'm afraid. And, we saw the Danny Ward last season, how he was performing to this season. I mean, he just looks completely off it. And, again, if I was on the board, I'd be potentially looking to sell him, to be honest with this month. So there was links with Bolton who were wanting him, but I don't know if the manager has come out and said that it's not true. But if we get an offer in for Ward, I'd probably let him go. Same with Ruffles. To be honest with you, if we got on, just let these players go because, but then also bring players in. Let's put it out there because our squad's thin as it is. So yeah, but yeah, Danny Ward for me is not the answer for us at the moment. And yeah, he just doesn't seem to be firing. And okay, it may take one moment to get him firing again, but I don't know. When we've seen him on numerous games this season, he's had chances and he's not taken advantage of that. So to me, he just doesn't seem up to it. Kamara obviously came on for Kasumu in the 64th minute as well. So he was put on to restore some control and solidity to midfield that obviously we lacked and severely lacked after Hogg's departure. So for me, I have to give Kamara a 7. I think he was great when he came on, to be fair, so fair play to him. And just to clarify, I did give Danny Ward a 4 for that. I think I did say that, but I can't remember. I'm too busy in a rage right now, so I do apologise. Obviously, Diarra came on. So returned from illness. Excited the crowd, as he always does, but really unable to turn anything into anything kind of substantial, to be honest with you. But you can't. He's a young lad. He's still learning. You can't expect him to be all guns blazing in terms of performance level every single time. The reality is he's only been given a chance this season. I'm not saying he's not good enough to be in the first team, because he is, but he's only got as many minutes as he has done because we've had no options. And to rush players into the first teams and throw them in the deep end, is that going to help his development? I'm not sure it is. Because, to be honest with you, he's not had much senior football. And he could potentially have done with another loan. But because our numbers are so thin, he's not been able to do that. So he's had to come on. I'm sure he won't mind, but I just find it really unfair. But again, Diarra comes on and he tries. He tries, he excites the crowd, but he can't do it on his own. I go back to it. So for me, yeah, it has to be a 5 for me for Diarra. Obviously, subs not used. Bilokopic, Lloyd Kayina, and Tyrese Simpson. So that is my player ratings done. Let's get into it then. So my overall thoughts. Deep breath and let's get, because I will feel a hell of a lot better after this rant and after this video, because I've been wanting to let off steam since that final whistle went yesterday, let's be honest. So yeah, ultimately, Mark Fotheringham, you cost us the game with his pathetic choice of substitutions, and that is the reality. And I will get into that in a minute in more detail. Second of all, we've got to be seeing out that first half after going 1-0 up. There's no questions. Timing is everything in football. And when you're conceding just before half-time, it completely puts you on the back foot. And you go into that second half, and going into the second half with your tails up. Luton did. Luton scored that first goal, the equaliser. And they had the tails up in the second half. And there we are. So timing is everything. You've got to be... game management, you've got to be seeing out that lead to half time at least, and we didn't. And thirdly, a real sense of frustration after losing this game from the position we were in. Let's not forget, 1-0 up at home, and we completely capitulate You know, for me, we lost the ball on far too many occasions, no urgency about our play at times, and the movement was so... I don't even know what word to describe the movement, but it was absolutely shocking. It was. And I go back to it. Final point. The goals we conceded were absolutely shambolic. You know, we simply have to be doing better than that defence. We've seen what we've done in the past defensively and how well we've done. But if you don't perform, you know, that's the hard thing. If you don't perform to the level defensively, at this level, you'll get punished. And it's not even the fact that, you know, it's just the basics of defending. Pick up your men, stay with your men, and don't leave your man. But for some reason, on 2 occasions, the 2 Luton players who scored the goals, Bell and who else? And Burke. Yeah, Bell and Burke. It's too much space. All alone. But not only that, it's the fact that they're allowed to cross the ball in at ease. Like I say, it's too easy to get balls in the box from our point of view when we're defending. You've got to get tighter. And yeah, it's just so makes me so angry. It really does. It does. There's no question about it. And obviously, I did say I was going to go into this about the stupid substitutions that were made. I mean, come on, Mark Fotheringham. Come out after the game and say you take responsibility for the substitutions that you made, because it cost us. And it did, it cost us. But the fact that he put all of his energy into the fact that we conceded 2 poor goals, which we did, I agree with that. But you've also got to take some accountability as a manager, the head coach, manager, whatever you want to call yourself. But he didn't. So, yeah, I mean, obviously Hoggy having to come off was the worst possible thing to happen, wasn't it? You know, because, you know, but what was totally inexcusable is bringing on a player that doesn't play in central midfield and having to reshuffle the pack, especially when it was working so well in the positions that everyone was playing. And the fact that Radoni had to move into the central midfield role, you saw it in the opening 38 minutes. Radoni was causing an absolute menace down that side, causing problems for the Luton defence. You know, they just couldn't handle him. And the fact that he's then being asked to move into central midfield when we've got a central midfield on the bench in Etienne Kamara, who should have come on at that point, instead of having to reshuffle the pack, which then, of course, disrupts the team. Because like I said, Radoni is not a central midfielder. I don't care what you say. He'll go in there and he'll do a job for you, right? But he's not a central midfielder. His best position is on the wing, in front of the striker, where he can create and get down that wing and cause problems, because he's quick, he's pacey, he always looks forward, he always takes on defenders. And a lot of the time, defenders have a nightmare playing against him because he's that effective. But to put, you know, Radoni in the middle and bring on Sorba Thomas, who has been very underwhelming this season, and then to make matters worse, when Sorba came on, he changes him to set pieces. Why? Because if you watch the opening 38 minutes of that game, Radoni, who was on the set pieces before he came on, was brilliant. He got so many good balls into that box with his delivery, whether it's from a corner or a free kick. It was fantastic. But for them to change the set piece take, when we know how poor Sorba's been in terms of set pieces this season, let alone his overall play, like I've already mentioned, it just doesn't make sense. So that's number one. That is an awful substitution that should never have happened in terms of bringing on somebody that has looked underwhelming, doesn't seem to care, and the work rate is non-existent from him, I'm afraid, at times. And then, yeah, to move Radoni into a position that he's not he will do a job for you, and he did brilliant when he was in that role. Obviously, he did a good job. He'll do a good job for you. We know that. But it's not his best position, and he interrupted and disrupted our play. And it means that we have not got him on that attacking wide side where he's so effective, like I said. I'm repeating myself now, but yeah, an absolutely garbage decision to bring him on, to bring Sorba Thomas on. Second of all, bringing Kasumu off. Why? Why, Mark? He had to stay on that field. Because if you look at it, when Hogg came off, we were lacking experience. Kasumu's experienced. He'll get in there and he'll help the youngsters. It's crucial. He's a key player in our midfield, as we've already seen. And I go back to it. When you've already lost one of your most experienced players in Hoggy, he simply has to stay on. I go back to it. You cannot win football matches at this level with youngsters in the middle of the park. That's the bottom line. And in midfield, you need experience in that midfield. And, I'm not saying you don't need youngsters in the side, because you do. But you need experience around them too. And once Kasumu came off, it was very inexperienced. And that ultimately cost us big time. And it did. Obviously, Rhodes coming off, okay, I understand. Rhodes, has to be utilised correctly now. He's at that age now where he can't play every minute, every game. I get it. But to bring Ward on, who, is arguably the most out-of-form player for us at the moment, makes no sense. It's 1-1. If we've actually got some ambition and we're trying to win this game, in all due respects to Ward, he's not the answer. If we want to win that game, do not bring Ward on. Now, I'm not saying you either keep Rhodes on, which I've already said that I understand. He's played a lot of minutes, so maybe he did need to come off. He was looking a bit leggy. But bring somebody else on. I'm not saying we've got loads at our disposal anyway on the bench, because we know we haven't. But bring somebody else on that can, impact it. What's up with Simpson? Simpson maybe should have come on at that point. But yeah, the substitutions were utter garbage, and it showed the naivety and the tactical knowledge that he has got on that touchline, I'm afraid. And say what you like about that, but that's just my honest opinion. He's not cut out to do the job. Even if he did have back-to-back wins prior to this game, he's still got a lot of convincing to do. I don't believe for 1 second we should have appointed him, like I've said on previous videos. Completely wrong decision to employ him, in my opinion. Because, yes, okay, we've had our moments, and yes, we're back in the fold, in terms of getting out of this mess. We are back in the fold of trying to get out of this, but I'm just sick to the back teeth of this, and it's not, you go away from the game yesterday and you feel very, very straight, and you feel like you're back to square one again. And that's how it feels. You cannot make the mistakes we are doing at this level. And yeah, an absolute shocking result. We saw what we were capable of against Preston. And we've seen, I don't care where Luton are in the league, if I'm honest with you, I don't. Because I go back to it. We've seen, from when we are on it, we can win anybody. And because the Championship is so unpredictable, then, and anybody can beat anybody, it doesn't really matter of the league position, to be honest with you, in that league, because it's about what happens on the day. And I go back to it, the manner of this defeat, the awful substitutions, And that what's really cost us. The substitutions cost us big time, and we know it. Obviously, losing Hoggy didn't help. I know that. I admit it. I understand that. But then to bring Sorba Thomas on, I mean, come on. Just wake up from reality, Mark, and wake up from what you're actually doing, and stop coming out with the same nonsense every week, because it is just getting tiresome now. And yeah, it is one of those. Obviously, I think I feel quite better now after that, to be honest with you, I do. And yeah, that's all I've got to say to me. I don't think I've missed any. I think I've said enough, really. But yeah, just not good enough. Simply not good enough. On all levels, not good enough. And yeah, so obviously, by the way, I'm not going to be doing a preview to our game this weekend against Preston. It is in the FA Cup, of course. So I'm just going to touch upon it briefly now. Yeah, obviously, FA Cup back at Deepdale. Obviously, we won last time out after 53 years. It was a brilliant day out, to be fair, away day. And obviously, it is in the cup. The reality is the cup doesn't matter to me. If we get knocked out, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. We need to be focusing on the league. That's clear. That's pretty much the obvious, isn't it? We have to focus on the league. If we get knocked out on Saturday, I'm not going to be disappointed. Again, obviously winning last time out, it may give us some confidence. I'd like to see some, players come in that haven't had much minutes, rest a few of the others, and yeah, have a bit of a fresh feel about the squad. Depending on the numbers we've got, obviously we can't actually, make too many changes, but that's what I'd like. Yeah, going to be, whatever it is, obviously, I'm not saying I wouldn't be happy with a win, but it's not the be-all and end-all. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing a transfer stream, a video, instead of the preview to our game this weekend. So I'll probably do that in a few days' time, so stay tuned for that. There is a few links. With obviously a few links with who we might get in. Whether we get them in is another story, because we've seen before we've been linked with very good players and they haven't come about, and we've ended up going for League 1, League 2 players who are quite frankly just the cheaper option. Like I say, at the moment, for me again, I just want to make a point before I go, I have zero faith in the board. That's the reality. And I don't trust them to get jobs done. So we still need an owner. So that's still rumbling on, and it won't surprise me if it rumbles on until the end of the season. And yeah, so yeah, thanks for watching. I am really sorry for ranting, but I feel better now, and things needed to be said on this video. I'm sorry, but they did, and I have just come out and said my truths. So yeah, obviously a break from the league at the weekend, obviously. Maybe it's a much needed break from the league. And obviously we'll see what happens. Nice to get a win, but again, it wouldn't be the be all and end all if we lost. I wouldn't really mind, because we just have to focus on the league, if I'm honest with you. And having another extra game in the cup competitions is just not good for us at this point, to be honest with you. So we'll just have to see. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and comment your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear from you as always, and I always make sure I reply. You can also follow my socials on Instagram and Twitter at HGFTV8 on Instagram and Twitter. Yeah, please give me a follow on those. But yeah, as always, thanks for watching. Have a good rest of the week, and I'll see you on the next one. And as always, up the town, come on you Terriers, and yeah, see you later everyone.